G'day, Starlo here, and welcome to another instalment of Stepping Stones to Successful Fishing. Now, so far in this series, we've mostly looked at bread and butter style fishing with bait from the rocks, from the beaches, in the estuaries. But this time I want to move on to lures, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that are really interested in getting into their lure fishing, but just find it a bit daunting. So we're going to start with the style of lure that represents the perfect crossover between bait fishing and lure fishing, and that's a soft plastic, a squidgy like this one. So probably the most critical thing of all with soft plastics is to rig them right in the first place. I've got a little jig head on here. It's only about 1.5 to 2 grams. The lighter the jig head that you can get by with, the more fish you'll catch generally. You want that hang time in the water as the lure sinks. Now, the first thing to do is just to quickly measure up the soft plastic alongside the jig head and have a look where the bend of the hook comes back to, because that's where you're going to want the point to come out when you rig it. Start right in the front of the nose, as dead center as you can get it, and then it's just a matter of sliding it round the bend, not unlike putting a garden worm on a hook. Bring that hook point out at that predetermined spot and then slide the plastic all the way up. Now, that's pretty good, but I'm going to have a good look at it, make sure it's absolutely straight, give it a little tweak. One little trick is just to hold its nose there with your fingers and just give it a little bit of a pull just to straighten it out. And I'm really happy with that, and I'll be even happier once I put some S-Factor on it. This stuff is just magic. It doesn't make fish swim from half a mile away to eat your lure, but what it does is make them hang on to it when they do grab it. It just tastes and smells right for them, so you get more bites at the cherry. Now, I'm still not going to just start fishing blindly with that. I'm going to give it a swim in the water first and make sure that it's behaving correctly. And I'm also going to have a think about what it is that I'm trying to imitate with this lure. It could be a worm, it could be a little prawn, it could be a crab or a bait fish. I'm going to tweak it in the water, watch what it does, and think about that when I cast the lure out there, because what I'm trying to do is put on a puppet show for the fish. And if I can convince them that this puppet is real, they'll eat it. Oh, yep, there we go. Oh, that's not a bad fish either. Oh, oh. He's giving me some. Oh, he's a good fish too. Oh. I was lucky to get him out of those snags. That's the thing, you're just working that plastic really slowly, and then the next minute you feel that little tick and you've got to set the hook. Oh, that's a stunning bream. Come on, mate. There we go. And when you get it right and you fish that lure like I was telling you before, think about what it's doing down there. Just make it imitate something alive, and eventually something like that will come along and eat it. And he really did eat it too. That squidgy is down the hatch. What I'm doing at the moment is fishing an edge, and I'm looking particularly for structure. I'm looking for rocks or branches that protrude into the water. I mean, I'll fish the entire edge, but where I expect the fish to come from is close to those significant items of structure. That's what they love to hang around. So whereas with the soft plastic, I was having to impart most of the action to the lure, hard-bodied lures have a built-in action. They'll actually swim when you just pull them along. And a lot of people just throw them out and wind them in or troll them behind the boat, and you'll catch fish doing that, but you'll catch a lot more fish if you actually work that lure. Remember, putting on that puppet show for the fish. You're trying to imitate not just a little fish, but perhaps an injured little fish that is most likely to be hit by a predator. So lots of stops and starts, lots of little tweaks of the rod tip. Keep the lure in the strike zone for as long as you possibly can. Oh, yep. Big paws. Oh. longest pause. The nice thing about these lures is they're suspending. They're only rising very, very slowly in the water, and the fish find that extremely natural in terms of a presentation. It's what a little fish might do in between darting around. And this bream was quite happy to just smack it while it was slow rising in the water. Another good fish too. Oh, nice and fat. Oh, they're in good nick. And that's why I like lure fishing. Whether you're throwing soft or hard lures in these southern estuaries, choose yourself a nice light rod around 2 to 2.2 metres in length and a reel from the 1,000 to 3,000 sizes. Spool it up with braided line. Look, braid is just fantastic. It's thin for its strength, it casts really well, and most importantly, because it's got near zero stretch, you feel everything that's going on out there. You know if your lure's picked up a bit of weed, you know if a fish has tapped it. And it's also important to keep your reel nicely spooled up with line. Don't overfill it, but make sure there's enough line on there so that you can cast smoothly and it's not hanging up going over the lip of the reel. Choose the right gear and lure fishing is just so much fun. And there he is, he smacked that Pavlo shad and he's picked it up in both the gill plate and the corner of his jaw. So there you go, there's nothing all that mysterious about fishing either soft plastics or hard bodies. If you've been keen to give lures a go, get out there and have a crack. Just remember the tips that I've given you in this episode.